Be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning, like servants waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will dress himself to serve, will have them recline at the table, and will come and wait on them. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the middle of the night or towards daybreak. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Peter asked, Lord, are you telling this parable to us or to everyone? The Lord answered, Who then is the faithful and wise manager whom the master puts in charge of his servants to give them their food allowance at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whom the master finds doing so when he returns. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose the servant says to himself, My master is taking a long time in coming, and he then begins to beat the other servants, both men and women, and to eat and drink and get drunk. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers. The servant who knows the master's will and does not get ready or does not do what the master wants will be beaten with many blows. But the one who does not know and does things deserving punishment, will be beaten with few blows. For everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. Just two questions really we're going to think about, very simply, is what have you been given, and what does God demand of you? So what have you been given? And this is just a few things that I've thought of. You might think of more things you've been given by God, but a few things which probably all of us, well, definitely all of us tonight have been given. And the challenge of this is, if we be given much, then much is demanded or required of us. So, firstly, the gospel. If you've heard the gospel once in your life, hopefully you all have, you've been here at camp a few days, then actually you're pretty privileged. This is from a website called the Joshua Project. So it gives the population of the world and then the population of reached people, as in people who've heard the gospel, and unreached. So you can see population currently 8.19 billion people in the world. 3.56 billion people are unreached, and that means that they don't have anybody who can tell them the gospel. They have pretty much no chance of hearing it unless something changes. If you see the bar chart at the bottom, that's like the levels. Northern Ireland would be in that bright green one, which is like significantly reached, because, well, I think you know there's churches everywhere, Bibles everywhere. If you want to hear about Jesus, you can do it pretty easily. So, if you've heard the gospel, you're pretty privileged. And the challenge of that is, have you responded to it? Hopefully you have, but people can go through camps for years and not respond to that. But have you put your faith in Jesus? Have you trusted him? And are you living for him or for yourself? If you've heard the gospel, well, that's the best thing you can be given. Next thing, so that's pretty blurry. If you have the Bible in your own language, you're also pretty privileged. You might not be able to see that, but it's 10% of global languages have the complete Bible in their own language. So that doesn't mean 10% in the world. Obviously, some languages are spoken by a lot more people, but still, it's a lot of languages where people don't have the Bible in their own language. So if you have that, that's another thing you can be thankful for. And the challenge is, I guess, do you actually appreciate that? Do you read it? Or does it just sit collecting dust by yourself? Thirdly, Bible-believing and teaching church. If you go to church where you know you're going to hear the word preached every week, and it's going to be good, that's a big privilege. I think of Ballymoney, where I'm from, and Ballymoney's full of churches. I don't know how many there is, maybe 10 or more. And if there was none there, you could just go into the countryside and find another 10 probably. So, if half the church is shut down for some reason, you could still go to other ones, and you could be sure that if you go in there, you'll hear the words preached, and you'll hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that is a privilege, which, yeah, we maybe don't appreciate, but lots of places around the world, it's not the case. And yeah, we're very lucky to have that, or privileged, not lucky. But yeah, so yeah, do you appreciate that? Paul's talking all this week about the church. You can grow up in the church and not appreciate it, but actually it's a big thing. And kind of like I mentioned, going away, there was times I heard teaching which wasn't good, and I met a lot of people who were really passionate about their faith, but just were in error in some things, and not through any fault of their own, but just because they'd grown up in churches where false things have been taught, or like, yeah. So we can really appreciate that if we're from here. Gifts and abilities, we'll go on to this later in the week, but God gives us all gifts. We're all part of the body. We all have different things we're good at, and yeah, that's a good thing. But the challenge is, do you use your gifts, or do you just keep them for yourself and for your own enjoyment, or do you use those to serve the church? Yeah, you'll hear a lot more about that later in the week. But yeah, the last one, time/circumstances I've written. For me to go to the ship, like there was specific circumstances or like, yeah, opportunities, I guess. I did a degree which gave me the flexibility that I could come home for a while, sub-teach for a while, get some money, go back. Yeah, that's flexibility. Also, just my life circumstances, like other people my age might be married with the kids. I'm not, so I had the freedom to go to the ship. And yeah, I was able to serve in different ways, and yeah, there's like no part of me regrets going at all. And I forgot to mention actually one of the questions Marcus asked, but like, would you recommend? I'd 100% say I would recommend, and like one of the things which when you finish it makes it so worthwhile is people write like, you have a farewell book and people just write nice messages, but yeah, like to know that actually you've made some small impact in people's lives with that time, yeah, it's definitely worth it, and for God's kingdom. So maybe for you guys, there might be a specific opportunity in your life to serve God in a specific way, which you might not have in a year or two's time. Things change, you grow older, circumstances change. So have a think, is there one thing which maybe you can do now which you can't do? If you're in school, maybe that's the friends you're with. You've maybe been with them for 5 years. Do they know you're a Christian? Have you shared your faith with them? Have you prayed for them? You'll not have that chance in 2 years' time, maybe. There's so many specific chances which you'll not have for the rest of your life. So, yeah, hopefully you can realize we've all been given a lot, but that also is the question then of what does God require of us? All right, I'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, I'll share a quote. One thing I'd do in the ship if the sermon was pretty average on Sunday, I'd like watch a YouTube sermon later on to try and get fed some way. But yeah, one I watched was by a guy, Paul Washer. Anyone know Paul Washer? Okay, he's a pretty fiery preacher at times, but yeah, he was just talking about the Great Commission, and this is a quote from him. He says, hopefully you know the Great Commission. It's where Jesus says to go into all nations and make disciples. He says, the Great Commission really isn't that complicated. Either you're called to be the one going down the mine or the one holding the rope. So if you think of that picture of someone going down a mine, there's one or two people holding the rope, maybe more. And the person down the mine, they're working hard in the dark to get the gold, but so are the people at the top holding the rope. And then he shouts, I'm not going to shout it, he's like, show me your scars on your hands. As in, it should cost us something, even if you're not the one on the mission fields. There should be some cost, at least, to supporting people on the mission field. So yeah, like, I wouldn't say I was a missionary, really. Like, I was on a ship which did some mission work, but it wasn't like I was going to some tribe and living there, and yeah. But I did serve, but there is lots of people who are doing that, and we do need to think about how do we support those people. So, like 3 simple things, you might have heard this before: pray, give, or go. Does anyone recognize this symbol? It's an app. Okay, well, you can download it if you want to. It's called the Joshua Project app. I think it's Unreached of the Day, and each day they give like an unreached people group. They give some prayer points for that group, Now, you don't have to go and pray every day for an unreached people group, but it might be a good idea. Something I tried to do was just one day a week, check the app and pray for an unreached people group, because it reminds you that there is still people who haven't heard the gospel, and there's a lot of work still to be done. So prayer is a big thing. Give. This is like another chart about where Christians' money goes to. I don't know how they define Christian, but yeah, apparently 1.7% goes to Christian causes of all Christians' earnings. And of that 1.7%, what is that? 5.8% goes to global missions. And then out of that 5.8%, 1.8% goes to unreached people groups. So you can see that's not very much. And that's kind of what we've been told to do, go to all nations. But yeah, not much money is actually going towards that. So yeah, maybe that's something you could do if you start now and say, I'll give 5% of my income to a charity or organization that works with these people. Over your lifetime, that definitely adds up. And another privilege we have is that the money we earn can actually go a lot further in some of these situations. So if you give a small amount of your salary, that might pay for a full salary for a local missions worker in a different country. So, and then last one is you could go. This is to do with how many people actually go to unreached places. Apparently it's less than 1 in 10 missionaries work in unreached people groups. Now there is challenges and there's a reason for that number, but it's still something to think about. Why is that the case? Or could more than 1 in 10 be going to these places? And you can all get involved in this in some way. I'm not really a missionary, but I did go on a ship and I was able to use my somewhat teaching skills. I kind of forgot to mention other stuff I did. I was the youth leader on the ship and did some of the kids ministry and took PE lessons and stuff. And doesn't seem like that much. Just taught PE with teenagers. But actually, it did make a difference in that situation, because for those families, let's say there's one family joined a few days after me. I ended up doing their orientation and stuff, but they come from South Africa for 15 months. And if you think about it, if you're a family with 2 kids, that's a big move. And one of the boys is 10, loves sport, loves playing sport with all his mates. And then he comes to the ship and there's no one else his age. But we just did after school sports clubs, and I took him for PE and stuff. And yeah, their family was you really helped us to settle in as a family. But if one kid's struggling, then the whole family might be struggling, and then they might have to go home or whatever. So what I did wasn't really much, but it made a difference for them and for the ship. And for you guys, you might not have the missionary skill set, but whatever your skills and talents are, you can make a difference somewhere. Whether that's here, it doesn't have to be going away, but just sometimes if you move somewhere else, there is an impact you can have to contribute towards all this. Yeah, I thought maybe it would be good just to finish with, just to give you guys a bit of time to reflect. So, I can't tell you, we've read this verse, for everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been trusted with much, much more will be asked. And I can't tell you exactly what God wants from your life or requires you or is asking you to do, but if you take some time to think about it, he might show you something. So for me, it involved going away on a ship for a year, and I still don't know what it means for next year, and this is something I have to think about. But it's something we all have to think about. What have we been given? How do we respond to that? And is there something which He is calling you into, which you haven't started yet, or something to continue with? But I just thought you could spend a few minutes to think about these things. Maybe thank God for the things we have been given, because we so much to be thankful for.